Sports of the 20th Century.
He takes me on this car ride, right? He says he wants to ask me a key question. I want to know, when you sit down in the theater and the lights go off and the movie comes on, what's the first goddamn thing you see? He says, all right, I'll tell you how it's supposed to start. It's a fighter plane from the pilot's eye, and it's flying over Korea, Seoul. And it's flying slow and sunny, and then bang, wham,
We're here at Fenway Park.
I mean, the biggest.
Hello, everybody.
goddamn
I'm Dwayne
explosion
Kuiper
you
with
ever
Mike
saw on the
Krukow as we
screen.
get set
And
for
then it
baseball
goes
here
down.
with EA Sports.
For maybe
This
10
game
seconds,
features
nothing.
the Chicago White
And then when
Sox
it
and the
comes back
Boston
to
Red
the
Sox.
ballpark,
And now,
And
here's
crap.
tonight's starting pitcher, Matt
Roar.
Clement.
and that's how it's supposed to begin.
Here's the game's first batter, Alex Cintron. And we're underway.
And this guy could be one of the keys of today's game. He can really swing the bat.
Fastball for a strike.
He's tallied 13 wins and 11 losses this season.
3 pitches, 3 strikes.
Partner, he gets ahead of him and never looks back. Sweet strikeout.
One out, nobody on. On the ground,
Though decades have passed since he
he
took his
reaches
final
with a
swing,
single.
Hit
the
that
immense
ball
shadow
hard
of
enough to
Ted
get past the infield for a
lingers
base hit.
on
That
the
ball
storied
smoked.
walls of this ballpark.
This guy does
Beyond.
pretty well against right-handed pitching.
He wanted it that way. Williams arrived here with an ambition
Throws it over
splendid
for a
but
strike.
simple.
Tell you what, this
To
guy's
have
got
them
an
say
uncanny knack
he
for
was the
picking good
greatest
pitches to
hitter
steal
that
on.
ever
Get
lived.
me going right here.
But a legacy that big could not be
Just catches
defined
the
so
corner
easily.
for a strike. No complaining today. A clear sky.
His life
Game
began
time.
in a small house in the North Park
And
neighborhood
on
of
3
San
pitches,
Diego,
he's gone.
California.
3 pitches, 3 strikes. Doesn't get easier than that, partner.
He had no home life, really. He was a first latchkey kind of kid. He had a father that had kind of become absent and a mother who had thrown herself into
Runner
the
on first
Salvation
with 2
Army.
outs.
And it
Just
was
got
kind
a
of
piece of that
ironic
one.
that his mother was off saving everybody else's soul and wasn't around to really take care of her kids. I think he had a very strange relationship with his mother.
Just
feelings
out of the
about his
fielder's
mother
reach.
that she kind of let him down.
My mother was
He's on with a
strictly
2-out
Salvation
single.
Army, strictly non-family. A wonderful woman in so many ways, but I wouldn't want to be married to her.
Stepping in, Paul Konerko.
There were 2 Williams boys, Teddy and younger brother Danny, born to Mexican-American Mae Benzer,
That's
her
strike
husband
1.
Sam Williams,
He
a
strikes out about
photographer.
9 per 9 innings. A pretty impressive total.
With both parents away so much of the time, the boys spent many
He
days and nights
crushed
of their
that one.
childhood alone.
It's
Both
off the
my father
wall.
and Ted, went their own
And he
ways.
scores the first run of the game.
And I think,
The throw is not in time.
Ted wanted to
That's
work
an
with him
RBI
the rules, and my
double.
father wanted to rebel against
Hey, he
him.
does a great job of
His
knocking the
brother
run. And look at
Danny,
this. They're still
younger,
threatening.
became kind of a street
Out of the
tough
dugout
kid.
comes the
and
skipper.
got in these sort of problems that unmanaged kids get into.
It looks
Ted
like he's
found
pretty
baseball,
upset about that last
and that
call.
was his structure.
The most fun I ever had in my life if I was hitting a ball and I could hit one, bow, just like that. Gee, that felt good to me.
I think Ted was totally self-motivated. The baseball field where he played, it's right there by the house. If you just went over there with your bat and glove, you could get something going.
And he would play
Hit into
baseball
right
year
field.
round.
Nixon
year
should
round
have
in
no
other
problem.
Sports. He was
The side is
swinging
retired
a
with 2 men
broomstick
left
all the
aboard.
time. He was swinging. They said he never had a girlfriend.
Heading into
Baseball
the
was
bottom of
his
the
whole
first, the score is 1-0.
Williams emerged as a huge high school star, and then, even before graduating, became a member of the local Pacific Coast League team.
Let's check
the
out how
Padres.
they're lining up on defense.
He'd come out to my folks' place and have dinner. And my dad had a way of talking to Ted and See, Ted didn't have any home runs at all.
Johnny Davis.
Nobody would ever give him any feeling of confidence or anything. And he just said, you
And
lucky
the
to have
strike.
a dad like that.
He was old school. He was a Depression-era kid, and you didn't talk about your
Inside,
troubles.
1 ball to the
You know, Ted would just say,
Sometimes you try to
know,
make the hitter chase your pitch. That's exactly
was
what you
full
saw
of
right
troubles
there.
at home. And that was
Fastball
that.
for a strike.
He showed excellent command with his fastball right there. A strike right on the edge of the zone.
And he got him.
Williams was signed by the Red Sox as a teenager. And after a brief
Next
stint
at
in the
the
minors,
plate, Manny
the highly
Ramirez.
touted rookie arrived in Boston
This guy is
in
a
the
great
spring of
approach to hitting, and that
1939.
makes him just a pretty
When I
special
first came
hitter.
up, I want to talk
Number
about
one
him.
pitch is his fastball.
And he was a skinny kid from San Diego. But Ted had a lot of publicity before he got to the major leagues. And we were all looking for him.
They wouldn't be disappointed. The kid, as he became
And
known,
on 3 pitches,
belted
he's gone.
31 home
Hey,
runs
the
and
pitcher
led the
wins the
league with
battle. Sweet pitch.
145 runs batted in.
Ortiz
Baseball
steps into the
and
batter's box.
Boston, its newest hope.
Misses with the fastball,
See,
100
when he
miles an
first went
hour.
up, gosh, he hit home
Here's the
runs.
1-0 delivery.
When he'd go back out in right field, they'd all clap
Fastball
for him to come out
inside.
there, and he'd take his cap and hold it straight up in the air. He wanted to please everybody, and he didn't want any objections like
He got a strike
boo or
upstairs.
anything.
He's got one
If there'd been a
consistent
Rookie of the
outpitch.
Year award, he would have won it. So the Red Sox are
Out
really
of the
excited
zone,
about
that's a
having
ball.
this wonderful
Sometimes you
ballpark.
try to make the hitter chase your
And
pitch. That's
rashly
exactly
go
what you saw
off
right
and
there.
retool the ballpark.
Ball 4.
Right field used to have
Blocks always
staggering
seem to come around and
proportions,
hurt you. He
and
falls
they
behind the
bring
batter and just
everything
never
in
gets
about
back in
how
the
so
bat.
Ted can hit more home runs. And they moved Ted to left field because it's an easier field to play. And there was a little bit of
Change up a bit
resentment.
outside.
You know, here's
One
this guy just
Next
about
pitch.
old enough to vote, and they've done all this for him.
1 ball and 1 strike.
Ted was very brash and very bold. He knew how good he was. And he was playing at a time
To right field.
when
That'll
all
be
the
a base
papers
hit.
were going.
It's a
going
fair
hard.
ball.
The afternoon editions churning out every day. The
He's
Red
out
Sox
with a
were the
single.
top dog, the #1 story
They're
in
making
town.
their own breaks on
That's
the
what
bases
sold
today,
papers.
Cal.
That was the
That was
sport.
some good base running
You
there to
walk
go
right
from first to
straight
third
down
in the
the
single.
And as a result, when they had somebody like Ted Williams that they could dig into, they were doing it quite liberally from the
Dirksen's was
beginning.
next up.
And he became very quickly the lightning rod of the city. He
Caught him
cast that
looking.
image of the tough Boston press forever.
From the start, the criticism was personal. Like when one Boston paper learned Williams was spending his first off-season in Minnesota, hunting and fishing with his girlfriend Doris Sewell.
The worst thing that was
Pitch
written
misses
was
for
by
a
guy
ball.
named Harold
This
Casey.
guy's a stud,
You
guy.
know,
He
the
expects
kind
to
of
be on
guy,
that mound all the way
you
to the
know,
ninth inning
wouldn't go
every
home
time.
and see his mother.
2 ball, 2
And
strike
Ted
count.
forever hated that comment.
In his second season,
Line sharp to the
Williams'
right
home
field
run
base
total
hit.
dipped to 23,
And the run
disappointing
scores.
the demanding Boston faithful. Frustrated and already
That's an
embittered,
RBI double.
Williams lashed out.
That's a nice at-bat right there. He got that left home and he ended up in scoring position himself.
And it didn't take but 1 or 2 fans to start writing, and then
Painted
a lot of
the
them start
inside
getting
corner.
on him, and then that's what upset him pretty bad.
When fans started booing him after he didn't hit,
He averaged
you know,
about 3
more
walks
home
per
runs,
9 innings.
he said,
Not terrible, but
Boston's
not
a
great.
lousy town anyways. I'd rather play in New York. Well,
And on 3 pitches,
that
he's gone.
fielding, they were after him from then on.
He was fueled by
After
negativity.
1 inning, the game's
He
tied
stopped
at
tipping
1.
the cap somewhere in
These guys
that
have a
second
lot of work
season.
to do if they're gonna
It
climb
kind
out
of
of
set
the
up his love-hate
The
relationship.
bottom of
with
the order is
fans.
coming up.
He liked
This
to show
righty
the
really
world,
becomes
he liked to put a
invisible
chip
against
on his
right-handed
shoulder
pitching.
and say, I'll
He
show
delivers
those
the
sons
strike.
of bitches.
He's got a
I'm
four
sure in
seam
my
with a
own
good
mind
slider
that
and a
it was the
so-so
immaturity of
slurve.
me to start with as a young player. Seeing I was getting too much
He
involved.
goes with the pitch and hits a fly ball to right. Nixon makes the grab
too
for the
strongly
out.
against some of the things that
Johnson
were written.
strolls to the
And I
plate.
think things like that developed to the point where I really did make some enemies.
The remarkable thing
That's a
about
strike.
Williams was that he could keep his talent intact and moving along, no matter what happened around it.
He's
I
got
think
it.
he was that way from
And
the
that's a
very
great
beginning.
play on a very tough line
There were
drive.
things he
That's
was
one of the toughest
insecure
balls in
about.
baseball to judge.
But there was one thing he
This
wasn't
batter looks
confused
lost when
about,
there's a right-hander on the mound.
which was that he could hit the
He gets it
goddamn
over
ball.
for a strike.
This right-hander usually relies on 2 pitches when he needs to throw strikes.
The fielder is
two
retreating.
dominant sports personalities
In
the
deep
United
trouble as
States.
it bounces
One was
up
Joe
against the
DiMaggio,
wall.
One was Ted Williams, and
He's
they
in there with a
dominated the
stand-up
sports
double.
pages. No question about it.
There's nothing like a ball in the
By the
alley
middle
to
of
get
the
yourself an extra base
1941
hit.
baseball season, Joe DiMaggio's hit streak, 48 games and counting, was the biggest story in sports. Ted Williams' more modest streak of 23 games had ended in June.
Next up, Alex
He was
Cintron.
hitting above the magical 400.
This guy is okay against right-handed
Ted was
pitching.
thought to be the pure hitter. Joe
Strike
was
at the knee.
thought to be the all-around
This guy will punch out
perfect
more than
ball
3
player,
batters each time he
capable of
starts.
fielding, throw, run.
It's hard
Goes
for
the other way
people
to the left
today, I
side.
think, understand the way those
That
two
retires
were
the
viewed.
side.
We've got heroes today, and we've got great hitters, great fielders, but these two men stood out.
Heading into the bottom of the second, it's a 1-1 tie.
In an era when the All-Star game was
Leading
as big
off
as
the inning
anything
will
in
be the
sports,
7th, 8th, and 9th
Midsummer
hitters.
Classic in Detroit, the pair teamed up in the same outfield for the American League.
He hits the target for a strike.
Joe DiMaggio came up in the 9th inning. We were trailing 5-3. And we had men on base.
Pitches a
And
strike.
then DiMaggio hit what should have been a double play. The throw to first base, pulled the first baseman off. DiMaggio was
It's hit
safe.
back up the middle.
The play brought up Williams.
Good start
If
to the
DiMaggio
inning.
had
The
missed a
leadoff
chance to
single.
write a perfect ending, Williams was
The next
eager for
batter
his.
is Mike Lowe. This right-handed hitter is slightly above average against right-handed pitching.
Okay, this dude knows how to steal a bag, and now is a great time to go.
The one that hit me the most
2
emotionally,
balls and no strikes.
the one that hit me
Sometimes
the
you
most
try to make a hitter
emotionally
chase your pitch. That's
was
exactly
only
what you
because
saw
of the
right there.
circumstances of being a young player doing
Throws
something
him a
for the first
curveball, and
time
it falls in for
in
a
front of the
strike.
greatest audience at the time that I'd ever played before because it was an All-Star game.
And it's 2-2. 3-2.
Hitting that
He's got
home
11
run at
wins
41,
and
that
12
was
losses so
complete
far this year.
happiness, jumping up and down, and boom, boom, boom.
He gives up the base on balls.
Hey, that was a great at-bat part. He wouldn't budge, he just worked the
You
pitcher for a
remember
while.
that one of those other hits. That would be the best that ever seen.
There are 2 on and nobody out. Misses with the fastball.
Joe
100
DiMaggio's hit
miles an
streak
hour.
ended on July
He's logged
17th at 56
194
games.
this season, and batters
The
have had
Yankees
moderate
were close
success
to the
against him
pennant.
with an average of 263.
But in September,
They've
the
set that
attention
defense
again
double play
turned to
depth. Get a
Williams.
ground ball right here. They might get 2.
2-1 the count.
He was leading the league in home runs,
Pitch out of the zone.
contending for a triple crown, and still
2-2 the
batting
count.
400. But on the road in
3-2
Philadelphia,
He
count.
the
was
final
hoping the batter
weekend of
would
the
go
season,
pitch out of the
his
zone.
average dropped.
Here's the pitch.
I walked all
And he
over
got him looking.
Philadelphia that night, worried
Hey,
about
fall behind,
not
makes
hitting
great pitches,
400
however,
really.
comes all the way back and gets a strike.
Doubleheader the last day of the season. He was at 3.99.
Ball outside. He missed with the changeup.
Manager Joe
This
Cronin
dude has a
told him
bevy of
that
pitches
he
in his
didn't have to
arsenal.
play.
Cronin, operating under the assumption that
Just
statistics
missed.
were always rounded
Hey,
off,
partner, if the pitcher can keep
believed
the ball low
Williams
in the zone,
already
he might
had
be
his
able to
400
induce a ground
season.
ball to start, too.
Cronin told him, you can be
Misses
a
with the
400 hitter if you
fastball.
want to stay out.
100
Ted
miles
said,
an hour.
no way he wanted to play.
And I thought, gee, what's he talking about? He's going to play.
Caught him
He said,
looking.
if I'm a 400 hitter, I'm going to be a 400 hitter all the way through.
And he
In the
takes
first
the
game,
walk.
Williams went
it's too
4
bad
for
he watched
5,
this guy. He just
raising
lets
his
him get away.
average to 404.
It was a great
Stepping
thrill
in,
when he finally
Manny
hit that
Ramirez.
400 mark. And they were cheap
One out,
hits. I mean,
bases
he was
loaded.
just so good.
And
He
he wasn't
delivers a
finished.
stride.
He played the
The
second game
outfielders
as
need
well,
to come up gunning on a
finishing
fly ball.
6 for 8 on the day and 406 on the season.
Castillo makes the routine catch.
Several weeks
God, this
later,
quick reaction allowed him to
Joe
make the play, and that
DiMaggio
line
was
drive.
named
Nice
the
play.
American League's most valuable
Up
player.
next, David Ortiz.
I think Ted thought that Joe was a great player.
He catches
and
the
an
plate for a
unhappy
stride.
man. And Joe
No balls
was
and one
terribly
strike.
jealous of Ted.
Hit to the right side.
Joe was furious that Ted was
That'll do it for the
one
inning.
that hit 400
Side
home runs.
retired.
DiMaggio spent his life trying to be the hero we wanted him to be.
The score
Ted
is
would
tied.
never do that. Ted was supposed to be the terrible Ted, the
For more on
problem
MVP
child
baseball,
brat.
log
But
on to
actually, Ted was a very
EASports.com.
generous
EA
soul
Sports, it's in
and
the game.
Great to his fellow players.
In
That's
fact,
off the catcher.
Williams counted Dom DiMaggio, Joe's younger brother, among his closest clubhouse friends, along with shortstop Johnny Pesky and his old Pacific Coast League teammate, Bobby Dorr.
He was just a really true friend. He would do anything in the world for you.
And perfect
everybody on the
location
ball
to
club
make it
liked him. He's the type of fellow that draws attention. It seems like if he walked into the room,
They
if there
asked
was
the third
15
base
people
umpire
there
if he
within
swung.
4 or 5 minutes, they'd all be around Ted.
I thought he was the almighty when I first got there. Of course, I was the third man in, and he used to make fun of me once in a while.
On the ground.
And he'd call me by my Christian name, but he didn't even pronounce it right.
He's on
He'd
first
say,
with a
Johnny
base hit.
Pavaskovich, huh?
He
He said,
really
what is that, a
crushed that
disease?
slider cut.
He lived like the kid that he wanted to be from the start. He hung out with the clubhouse
He pulls
guy.
a ground ball
He
to
lived
the left
almost like
side.
a small towner in Boston.
He didn't go out to dinner with a lot of ball players. He wasn't a big carouser. But he collected
Hit to the
a
right
bunch
side.
of people that he came across, ordinary people
And they
who
turn
he
two.
was the closest to.
The
Flawless
crowd was
execution right there on the double
firemen
play.
and guys he met on the street, and none of the nabobs of Boston.
After 2.5, the game's tied at
He
1.
liked people who thought they were something great, and maybe thought he wasn't.
This right-handed hitter usually performs
When I was a
well
little kid,
when
I
there are
remember
right-handers on the mound.
And we didn't have television. We just had magazines. And I used to read about Ted
He
Williams
goes with the
because he was
pitch, and it's a
left-handed.
fly ball to
I
right.
was left-handed because he was from
That's a
Southern
ground rule
California.
double.
And I was. Because as I learned more about him, he grew up in a neighborhood very similar to mine.
Well, that one made a
I
beeline
just
for
made a
the
connection.
stands. Unfortunately for him, he bounced before leaving the yard for a ground rule
I
double.
thought he had just an incredible swing. I tried to pattern my swing after his, but from looking at pictures. And the more I learned about it, the more I realized that he was a scientific hitter with just incredible natural ability.
Anticipate. You see a fastball. Your eye-hand coordination isn't
Kind
quite
of key
good
to scoring
enough.
runs is cashing
You gotta
in
say,
in run scoring
fastball and
situations.
starting that
See if they
area.
can knock in that guy's
You
second
anticipate
school run.
Up, there it is. Bang.
Ted just brought a passion to hitting a baseball that I don't think
That's a
Boston had
three-pitch
seen, or maybe
strikeout.
anybody had seen. Nobody had
Next at the plate,
deconstructed
Trot Nixon.
that simple act the way he had.
When you talk about baseball, it
Takes
was
a
like
pitch high.
water coming out.
Sometimes you try to make a hitter chase
In
your
the
pitch.
batter's
That's
box,
exactly what you saw
he was
right
like a
there.
scientist.
Why the
There's a
curveball
close pitch called a ball.
brains in the bat.
And he made a study of the pitchers. He knew more about every pitcher in the league than they knew about themselves.
Trying to sneak a fastball by Ted Williams was like trying to sneak a sunbeam by a rooster in the morning. It's not going to happen.
2 balls and 2
He
strikes.
did things in his head that they do now in computers.
And the scientific mind, together with the physical
3-2.
abilities, the touch, the feel, he had to the utmost.
He used to take his bats to the
That's
post
the
office
fourth base on
to
balls he's
make
allowed in
sure
this
they
game.
hadn't gained an ounce of moisture. He didn't have to look a certain way. He didn't have to have shine shoes. He didn't wear a tie. But on the ball field, in the
Curveball
batter's
is
box,
up for a ball.
nothing was beyond or beneath his notice. He had to be perfect.
But 2 months after the 1941 season ended, his pursuit of that perfection
1 ball
was
and 1
threatened by
strike.
war.
High for a ball.
Infield's got to think about playing a double play.
December
right now.
7th came, and there were a bunch of guys in baseball. Bob Feller at the head of the
2-2
list,
count.
who went right down and joined the services. And, you know, those were the gung-ho guys. And Ted wanted to play another season.
No swing.
He was classified 3A because he was supposed to be sole supporting his mother.
That's
But
walk
he
number
hadn't
5
seen his
allowed
mother
in this
2
game.
years. And
Hey, partner,
it
he
was
showed a
all
lot of
looking
patience
a
in that
little
inning.
shaky.
He took.
He tried to deny it, but that gave more fodder to the press being guy to the draft.
I don't
All this
think
guy's
Ted
got to do
was
is
a draft
ball
guy.
marginally deep. They should
I
score
think
the
he
run
probably
from
wanted to
third.
continue his baseball career.
Curves foul.
What his thoughts was, I really don't know. I never discussed it with him. But I know my thoughts. And I thought the right thing to do was to get busy and fight.
Lowell lays off inside
Williams won
for
the
a
Triple
ball.
Crown in
That was a
1942.
purpose pitch.
It would be his final season on the diamond for some time. He enrolled in Naval Flight School
Out
in
number
November.
3, side
The
retired.
great hitter soon developed into a
Got
great
that double
pilot.
play was smooth as silk.
And
Just
perhaps
like
surprisingly,
the big boy.
the ornery star took to the military life like a
After
natural.
3, it's a 1-1 tie.
The truth is, he was a very structured
This game is
person.
brought to you by EA
And in
Sports.
fact,
EA
thrived on
Sports
being
gets in the
structured.
game.
He never had a problem with anybody over him. Never had a problem with an officer.
When I was at pre-flight school at Chapel Hill, North Carolina, before getting
Takes a
going,
tailing
I just
fastball.
signed up as a young guy. I was 18. Ted came there to Chapel Hill, and we all standing around watching at the pre-flight, and just
On the
electrified
ground to
everything he
third.
did. Coordination, you know, it's important.
Base
Flying.
hit to lead off the
Look
inning.
at the feel of the airplane. He had that thing going.
Williams spent 3 years in the service, eventually becoming a flight school instructor, but never seeing combat. He also found time during the war to marry longtime girlfriend Doris
Dives
Sue.
and makes a fantastic catch.
Nixon made
By the
a
time he
great play on
returned to
that
the Red
ball.
Sox in
That ball looked like it was
1946,
going to drop,
he
but
was a more
great
mature
dive took away
27
any
years
thoughts
old.
of that.
And the new, friendlier Ted Williams was a hit with the Boston press and fans alike.
He was the big guy.
He's got it for the out.
He had that air about him that would stop a whole stadium in its tracks. He was
This righty batter is just all right when it comes to hitting a right hand.
Everybody would get a thrill when Ted Williams came out.
We just got off to a good start. We got out 10, 12 games, and it seemed like we stayed that way all season.
Johnson
We
takes
just
and the
had
count
a
evens
ball
at
club
one.
that seemed like it molded together.
He delivers.
The last 3 weeks, Ted has maintained a savage hitting pace. He is leading the league in home runs with 27. He is hitting .351.
Williams was rocketing line drives into
The
right
score
field,
is tied.
doing his part to keep Boston atop the American League. But just after the All-Star break, a strange new idea coming out of Cleveland.
This guy could use some more time in the batting
They
cage.
had the Ted Williams shift, which Lou Boudreau, our manager,
1-0 count.
developed. Everybody played on the right side of the
The
field.
delivery.
Well, I was almost embarrassed because I thought, what are they trying to do? Make a joke out of this thing. But little did I realize that this was going to be an obstacle for me, and it was.
That was the knock about him, that he would never hit the ball to left field and take advantage of the shift.
And my gosh, Ted would not go out of that strike zone. People said, well, he'd help the club better if he hit a ball out of strike zone
Full
to
count
get
here.
that run in. Ted said, well, if I start doing that, I'll create bad habits.
The seemingly inflexible
Ground ball
approach
pulled down
offered
to the
more
left
fodder
side.
to his critics,
They
who
make
argued
the
that the
play.
best hitter in the game could swing at a less than perfect pitch.
Next
for the
up,
sake of
Johnny
runs
Damon.
to score runs. Still, Williams did foil the shift at a key moment. On September 13th, he hit a ball to left field for a game-winning inside-the-park home run,
They appeal
clinching
to the
Boston's
third base
first
ump.
pennant in 28 years.
No swing.
They had nearly 3 weeks
The
to wait
pitch.
for the World Series. But once again,
That one splits
nothing
the
would come
outfielder.
easy for Williams and the Sox.
The manager was worried
He's headed
that
to
the Red
second.
Sox would be stale by the time the World Series came.
There's a double.
He set up an exhibition series against the purported stars of the American League, including Joe DiMaggio. But Williams gets hit with a pitch on the elbow, and he was never really right, I don't think, for the World Series.
The next batter is Manny Ramirez.
Against Stan Musial and the Cardinals, the series went the full 7 games.
There's strike
But
two.
St. Louis prevailed.
Hey, Kite, the key to scoring runs is cashing in on these run-scoring
Williams
situations.
was a
See if
disappointment.
they can knock in that guy at second, score a run.
He got shut down. Nothing but singles, hits 200. It's a pathetic showing. To the day he
That's
died, I think
6
that really grated on him.
strikeouts.
And there was no
Hey,
answer.
Parker, you may not want to think about this game for a while. It hasn't exactly been a shining moment in his career.
Ortiz takes.
It's just a sad
and it's
thing
ball
because we
one.
were favored to win the series because we didn't. Ted Williams
Outside
actually
for a
wept.
ball.
He didn't have a real good series, but he got us
2
there.
balls and no strike.
I couldn't
Ball
believe that
high.
I'd been so loud. I was kind of shell-shocked to think we lost. God, I was so completely upset. I remember I just broke down and started crying. Right then, you know, it just took me so much.
The whole
The appeal
idea that
goes
this
to
was his
third.
moment to shine just went right by the boards. Little did he know that this would be his only chance.
After the season, Williams was awarded his first MVP.
Jackson gets ahead 1 ball and no
The years to
strike.
come would win another, as well as a second Triple Crown and 4 more batting titles. But he would never again step to the plate in the World Series. In 1948, the Red Sox lost a one-game playoff to Cleveland.
Sure thought the batter would have batted. I agree. Hitters count 3-1.
And the following year ended even more painfully.
There's the 7th base on balls.
Needing just one more
in the
win,
game.
the Sox lost the last 2 games of the season to their arch-rivals in Yankee Stadium.
This guy from both sides of the plate puts up better numbers batting left-handed.
Joe DiMaggio would earn yet another World Series ring.
He delivers.
He ultimately owned 9,
Swing and a miss.
which only added to the criticism that Ted Williams could not even win one.
There was this whole situation after Ted performing the clutch.
Dirksen hits this one
in the
to
winning
shallow left
battle with
field.
Joe DiMaggio.
Makes
That's
the
where
catch
Ted
to
lost
record the
most,
out.
because the Yankees were racking up all these pennants, and Ted was never getting
After
to that
4,
stage.
the game's tied at 1.
Joe made everybody winners. I think Ted
Stepping
made a
in
lot
with a
of
double
better
already,
hitters
Scott
and made
Pasetnik.
some better pitchers. But Joe was just, he was insufferable on the subject. He said, you know, sure he can hit. I said, but what has he ever won?
All the stuff that he was
Hit
great was
weakly to
individual
short.
stuff. You know, hitting 400, triple crowns.
Shortstop
Even his
makes
great
the
moments
catch.
like All-Star games.
Stepping
And that's
in,
not
Alex
the
Cintron.
reputation you want to have. You don't want to be known as a great guy in All-Star games. You want to be great in the World Series.
As his team's frustrations continued,
Turns on it and hits it on
Williams'
the line.
penchant for shrinking away in his personal life became
He's
more
on with a
noticeable.
1-out single.
In January
Up
of
next,
1948,
Luis
his
Castillo.
wife Doris gave birth to a daughter,
With this guy hitting
Bobby
guy,
Joe.
the infielders should be on their
Williams
toes. This
missed
guy's
the
got
birth.
some great
He was
wheels.
down in Florida in the Keys fishing. There was a number
Push
of
bunt.
days before he finally
Moves
got
it
up
to
see
the
his
pitcher at
daughter.
first.
His excuse was that the baby was premature. Well, but he also went back and fished because that's what he wanted to do.
The way everybody in Boston lived so intimately with him, it just caused a great uproar. I think he loved Bobby Joe, but he had big problems with intimacy, I think. He had big problems with day-to-day life.
Ted had his own way of sort of retreating from those
They'll be
times
sitting
when
there
he
running home.
might
The
have
ball's
been wrong
hit
about
center field.
something.
He does not have
Or
a good
wasn't
throwing.
quite sure that he was right.
And the
And
pitch.
what happened in those times
Hit
was that
towards the
he almost
shortstop.
disappeared into his own little world.
That's the 3rd out with 1 runner stranded in scoring position.
Williams
The
remained
score is
comfortable,
tied.
though, in the batter's box, winning his 2nd MVP award in 1949. But soon his career was again interrupted by war. As the
One
U.S.
ball and
entered
no
the conflict
strike.
in Korea, the Marines fighting there quickly discovered they were in dire need of some air support.
From 1945 to 1950, they didn't train any pilots at all. And suddenly, all of a sudden, hey, there are no pilots, so what are we going to do? So they went into the reserve, which I was one, as Ted was.
They go to the file cabinet, they pull out the list.
That's
they take out
7
the dust.
strikeouts.
There's Ted Williams.
Well, you're talking about
and he's
making a good
called
pitch.
to go
Right there,
back.
he was really backed up against the wall,
And
and
in
then he digs
1950, I
deep,
guess it
makes
was,
great
he
pitches,
ran
and gets
into
the
the fence
strikeout.
at Comiskey Park. He broke his elbow.
This lefty batter is refining his swing against righty pitching.
It's not doing too well. And I can still see the doctor. Patch it, okay, you're all right. There was no way that Williams got to get out of back to the
That was a
mound.
purpose pitch. A changeup off
You know,
the
he
plate,
was,
hoping the
I
batter would
guess,
go chase
6
him.
years older than I was.
The ball is hit
And
out
it was
towards
harder for
third
him to
base.
get into this mode.
That's the 2nd out.
A bunch of time had passed since World War II. Ted Williams hadn't flown one plane since he left the service. And now they're called to fly jets that none of them knew how to fly.
After spending nearly the entire
Gathers it in with his
1952
glove.
season retraining in flight school, Williams landed for duty in Korea in February 1953.
That'll be ruled an
The
error.
life, Korea.
I think I can overcut that ball off. They just can't allow the base
sick.
runner to reach second on that.
Cold. He had to keep flying because they didn't have enough pilots. I mean, literally, he was bleeding out of his ears.
Williams began flying combat missions just after
Just
his
needs to
arrival.
focus on getting the base
In one of
hit
his
here and
first
drive that
runs,
runner in from
the
second.
plane found enemy fire.
So I'm up about 18,000 feet now, and I felt like any minute I'm going to have to bail out of this son of a bitch. So all of a sudden, this plane right behind me
No swing.
Lieutenant Hawkins, young kid. He led me
And
back to the
here's the
field.
delivery. That's the
Meantime,
final
he's
out.
calling in,
Inning over.
telling that, you know, just playing with him, it's smoking.
All the Marines are in the air. And all of a sudden you hear this, I got a mayday, I got a mayday.
With
Now, we
5
don't know
innings
who this
played,
is,
it's a
but he's your
1-1 tie.
brother. He's one of you. And you feel for this guy. Who is this guy?
Big explosion in the car.
Here it
All
comes.
this fire and smoke was underneath me, see? I didn't have my brakes, didn't have my wheels down. And I had nothing to slow me
That's
down.
the
All I'm
first
thinking
out.
about is getting on the deck.
Next
I
at
never
the
will
plate,
forget.
Paul
I was,
Konerko.
man, I'm on fire. 30 feet of fire going up behind my ass, see? And I hit the runway, and I skidded 1 mile up there.
Pitcher's lucky that slider isn't hit a mile. That let a very hittable pitch go by.
When is this dirty son of a bitch going to stop? That's all I said. When is this dirty son of a bitch? And if I ever prayed in my life, the only goddamn thing I said, well, for the goddamn Christ, it's the time old Teddy
Liner
Ball
right
again.
after third baseman. And he's out.
Lowell made it look easy on that
But
out
he
of first
landed
guy.
on the stomach of the plane.
This batter
Why
is
he
nothing
didn't blow up,
special
I'll
when
never
he's
know.
facing a righty on the mound. Hit towards the shortstop. There's an out. Going into the bottom of the sixth. The game's tied at 1.
Time in the Marine Air Corps. Ted Williams once again prepares to return to
Next up,
baseball.
Johnny Damon. This batter pounds the ball off right-handed pitchers.
Well, as of now, that's where I'm scheduled to go, Colonel. I plan on being up there tomorrow, and needless to say, I'm anxious to see
pitch
if
is
it's
high.
still hit.
He hadn't had a bat return, since he'd been away. It was a Friday night
Breaking
before
ball.
a game with the
And a
Detroit
good
Tigers.
one. 1 and 2.
And
He
I went
swiped
down because I
14
wanted to see
bases.
this. So all of a sudden, here he comes, right into the batting cage. Then Ted hits one
Makes a
out.
pitch high.
They're going to have to do
It's the
something.
next pitch.
Some of these pitches ain't even
Then hits the
close.
next pitch up. The Red Sox
They
are
asked the
watching
third
it.
base
Yeah,
umpire
they're
if
going
he
nuts.
swung.
And
That's
Schreiber, the
9
pitcher, is
strikeouts.
starting to get into it too. And Williams is screaming at him. Throw it, don't watch it, throw it. All the while he's hitting his home runs, blood's coming down his hands. And finally he hit, there had to be 10 or 11 in a row.
Ramirez up next.
People ask me, what is the greatest thing you ever seen Ted Williams do in Baltimore? And they're surprised when I say, well, how about batting practice?
What do you think of Ted Williams?
I think he's a great ball player. I think hope he stays on a couple
He
more
goes out
years.
to right.
You do, huh? Well, I think he will stay a couple more years with Boston. You coming to see every game he's on?
The White
Yes, I hope
Sox
so.
have a righty
Fine, it's
throwing
nice
in
to
the
hear that.
bullpen.
Williams would return to hit 407
successful
in
against
37
right-handed
games at the end of that 1953 season. He was now suddenly the oldest, longest tenured member of the team. Gone were his
And the
close
batter went
clubhouse
around.
friends Don
Batter
DiMaggio,
scratching his head
Bobby
on that
Doerr,
last check
and Johnny
swing strike
Pesky.
call.
Gone, too, was the prime of
1,
his
2,
career.
3, and the inning is over.
The man who wanted to be the
With
greatest hitter
6
ever
innings played,
had lost
it's a
5 years of
1-1
at-bats
tie.
to 2 wars.
Due up, the
He was
bottom of the
34
order.
years old. And you get a mixed sense of how he felt. On the one hand, I don't think he would
Miller
give
rolls
anything
into
for
second
those
base.
39 missions over North Korea. But on the other,
He's
I
on
think
with a
that
leadoff
it
single.
robbed him of
God, they
some of his
really needed
career.
him to come through right there.
I think
Boy,
that
did he ever. What a nice
the
piece of
whole
work.
of his career after Korea was almost an anticlimax. He became much more conscious of
One
his
out and
figures,
no one out.
how many hits
Swing
in
and
the
a
record book,
miss.
how many
Okay,
home
this is
runs.
an ideal bunting
And
situation.
in
The defense
retrospect,
needs to
I
be
think that
prepared.
he felt like that's no way to go through your last years.
There was change to grapple
Fouls
with in
it
his
away.
personal life as well. After years of long
The
absences
corners are
from his wife
guarding the
Doris,
lines.
his marriage ended in divorce in 1955.
Here's the pitch.
She would maintain
Pop up on
custody
the
of
infield.
7-year-old daughter, Bobby Joe. Meanwhile,
Clement
as the
makes
struggling
the
team's
routine
elder
catch.
statesman,
Stepping
his
in,
prickly
1 for 2.
tendencies
Scott
became as familiar
Vicente.
to writers as his line drives.
He could be very antagonistic to the poor souls who covered the
Right
team
now is where you see the
every day.
manager's wheels
And he could be
spinning.
very
To bunt
profane
or not to bunt.
and question their ancestors and their mothers. And
There's a push bunt.
he
He
was the
flips it
best
to the
person
pitcher
in the
covering.
history of the human race. When he
Great
said,
bunt. They practice those all year.
"God
Still many
damn
players
it,"
can't lay
he
down a
meant
simple
that
bunt.
God should
That's a
damn
great
it.
job.
You know, I mean, it wasn't just like a little paprika in his speech.
He cussed at everything. He was never happy. He probably the smartest, unhappiest player I ever saw.
You know,
Guy
he'd be
takes
sitting in the
everywhere to go
locker
home when a ball hit the center
Ryder
field.
would walk in.
The center fielder is not going to intimidate anybody with his throwing. Well, that was a pretty good play on a line drive. The infielder got a good jump. He really took the hit away.
Hey, partner, it's time now for the 7th inning stretch.
Oh, well,
Didn't you see recently?
no wonder with
I
that
sure
shit
did.
you
When I was in
run.
the league, I could pitch in front of 50,000 people. But
I mean,
that was like throwing in my backyard and singing to take me out of the ball game at
Red
Wrigley. I was scared to death.
And the pitch.
It's an off day. I was at the left field grandstand. I hear bang, 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 bang. And I look out to right field. Billy Goodman was a Red Sox player. He's picking up these dead pitchers and putting them in a bag. And there's himself. Bang, bang. In those days, Fenway Park was full of pigeons. You sat in the
He started to swing but managed to stop.
So he was doing a favor for the rest of us.
No swing.
So I called the
He's
office
batting
to tell him
277.
we were just
With
up
8 home runs
pigeons.
and 56
Because I don't
runs
want to
batted in.
go out and interview him.
That's 11 strikeouts.
So my boss called us and said,
Partner, he gets ahead of him and never looks back. 3 strikeouts.
Fine. He still doesn't know it. I'm the guy who blew the whistle. He never would have talked to me again.
Baseball history is made in Boston as Ted Williams sits down with owner Tom Yawkey of the Red Sox for a heart-to-heart talk.
Williams was paid a reported $100,000 salary in 1956.
He makes the play.
But the money didn't curb his frustrations.
The next
which
batter
peaked in
is
August,
Trot Nixon.
with particularly unseemly
The Southpaw
outbursts
is
of
a C-plus hitter against right-handed pitching.
They were playing the Yankees, and he dropped the pop fly, and people were booing him when he was coming in from the outfield.
Pitch taken for a
Spit
ball.
at everybody.
But that pitcher and catcher have strategy in mind. So far, the batters are taking these pitches.
I thought that was a highlight.
A guy throws like a golf ball in the stands, and Ted hawks a big spit
Hit
at the
towards
guy.
the shortstop.
And people are booing, and
It's a 1-2-3 inning.
he thrived on that season.
With 2 innings left, the game's tied at 1.
Another bull Willie made.
Today's game is brought to you by EA Sports. EA Sports, it's in the game.
Well, this guy's speed always makes him a threat to bunt for a hit. Keep your eyes peeled, big
And
boy.
they're rabid fans. Of course, he was a tempestuous guy, and as soon as he reacted to it, that's it. He never should have.
The next night they were playing, I think, the Orioles.
Ball
And he
misses
hit a home
1-0.
run. And as he's coming across the plate, everybody's, of course, looking at him, the writers, the fans, what's he going to do now?
There's a line
And
drive.
As he crossed the plate, he took his right hand and he clamped it over his mouth. As if, boy, you better not say anything.
And he's on with a leadoff
The
double.
little boy. coming across the
Castillo
plate.
started things off very well right there. He got to
Wild,
cash
they
in
love
on leadoff extra base hit. Let's see what happens.
What he wanted from the fans, and the reason that he had such trouble in Boston, he wanted people to feel with him, whatever it was, his pride, his rage, his exultation, his shame. But if they wouldn't feel that,
Hit hard,
then
he's got
there
it.
was
What a tremendous diving play.
and you'd make them feel
Base
that.
hit.
The thing that has irritated me more over the years than anything else has been the fact that untruths written about me in the paper. And it just
The White Sox
irks me and
are getting their
irritates me so
bullpen
much
ready.
That I just explode at times, and
The skipper has pulled the
possibly do
infield
things
in.
later, which I haven't done.
The irony
On an
is that-
occasion, this
is
hitter
that
really
with
doesn't hit
all
for
the
average, but he'll
fights
get the
that
job
he had
done.
with sports writers and the alienation he felt, he was
Line drive up the
probably
middle.
as accessible as
That's
any
the go-ahead
athlete that
run.
came through. He
That's
got
an
hooked in
RBI
early
single.
with the Jimmy Fund charity, and he would go all over the place for the Jimmy Fund.
Can you think of anything more dreadful than a child sick with cancer? Here's the Jimmy Fund building, a highly trained staff.
The White Sox have a left-hander and a right-hander getting loose in the bullpen.
Yeah, he was great.
Up next with a
From
double
Miami.
today, Paul
I went to a
Konerko.
lot of
Against
hospitals
righty
to
pitchers,
see kids
the
that
batter is
and
nothing to
never
write
turn
home about.
anybody down on anything like
The
that.
bullpen is busy.
He had an event
The
with
manager's
Jimmy
going to
Fund.
come out
It was
to
one
give
of
them
the,
a little
3
bit
or
more
4
room.
times Ted wore a necktie
That
in
mound
Boston.
visit may have gotten
He
in
came
the
out
pitcher's
for
head,
this.
partner. To see if he can
And
pull it
only
together.
because people were going to pony up.
Bringing in a
Jimmy
righty
Fund.
to face
He
the
gave
right-handed hitter is a good
tremendous
move,
speech
partner, because it creates a
about
mismatch
how,
in the pitcher's favor.
all the bombs in the world won't do as much as the hand dropping a coin into the Jimmy Fund container. And that sense of unfairness, that's what brought him to it, I think. It just wasn't fair for a kid to have to battle this.
I think that Ted appreciated what that meant. Because let's face it,
misses 0-1.
the wonder of the world
Outstanding fastball in the
when
corner
you're a
strike zone. The batter
kid
has
is
no
diminished a
chance.
lot when you grow old and much more cynical. And I think that he did appreciate childhood so much.
They set that defense at double play depth. If you can get a ground ball right here, they might get two.
The kid turned 39 years old in 1957. But finished the season with a remarkable .388 average, easily beating out younger stars like Mickey Mantle for the league title.
There's a close pitch called a ball.
Although the Sox remained a mediocre ball club, in 1959, they finally joined the rest of baseball and pulled up their first African-American player.
Close play, and he's
Being
out.
Tecumseh green, black and white didn't matter to Ted Williams.
And you walk in the clubhouse and everybody take a look at you, and you can understand why. In other words, this is a black guy just walking in here.
Center fielder does not throw many guys out.
I was his warm-up partner. He liked women over me, and I liked women over him too, because I would burn him out every once in a while. Because he always talked about how great he was. So I said, I got a better arm than you.
Swung on and missed the pitch on the corner.
That is a bad-looking swing right there, Big
You know, he was number 9. He's Ted Williams. He didn't have to do anything to impress anybody.
Franco lays off inside for a ball.
That year, the man who yearned to be immortal finally faced signs of mortality.
He
A
strikes
pinched
out
nerve in his
swinging.
neck kept his average under 300 for the first time in his career. And in early 1960, his troubled younger brother Danny died of leukemia at the age of 39.
2 on with 2 down.
Insurance or income or anything. Ted paid for everything, and my father was getting blood transfusions and air ambulances. His family and his good deeds, he didn't want to talk about. And I think Ted felt it's my brother and there's something I can do.
And on 3 pitches, he's gone.
It's hard. It was the end of the story for him, too.
To some,
Going into the bottom of the
seemed
8th, the
imminent.
score is 2-1.
But as ever, the splendid Splinter
The White
had his own
Sox
plan.
bring in a new pitcher. Here
He was
comes a new
41
pitcher.
years old, and he went into Dick O'Connell's office, the general manager. $125,000 contract. There, O'Connell's
The
desk.
bottom of the order
And
is
he
up
said, there it
next.
is, Ted. Same as last year. Ted said, no, Mr. O'Connell, I am playing one more year, and I'm going to play it for $90,000. What I made last year, I did not deserve. That's the way he felt about it. The whole realm of being
A 3-pitch strikeout.
Hey, sometimes you make a good pitch, and that was one of them. Big strikeout there, partner.
The corners are hugging the lines. Lowell takes his turn at bat. Base is empty with 1 out.
I'm sorry, but I'd like to ask you, why do you come to the ballpark?
Inside,
He
1
says,
ball
I
to
come
miss.
for Ted Williams.
Looks like the pitcher and catcher have a
I can
strategy in
throw
mind.
Williams
So far, the
down
batters
the
are taking
ball.
these pitches.
When he takes his bat
He went
out,
around, kind of. The ump felt he didn't.
when he's getting in the on-base circle,
2-2.
I can tell every move he makes
There's the pitch.
by the
They
reaction
appeal
of
to
the field.
first on the check swing.
And in the 1960 season, the hitter was reborn. Batting over 300, slugging his 500th home run, and providing one of the most dramatic final bows in sports history.
A left-handed pinch hitter will come to the plate to face the righty.
First touching the side, everyone standing at Fenway Park as Williams hit probably for the last
Pitch
time
misses
in a
for a
Boston
ball.
uniform in this ballpark.
I looked for fastball and I got a G with a ball to hit.
Pitch taken
and I
for
saw
a ball.
it, and I couldn't believe
He
I could make
delivers.
contact.
Swing and a miss, and he took a mighty
3-0 count.
Boy, how did I miss that?
Well, you can bet your bottom dollar Williams would like to hit one out of here right now.
I was watching Fisher. He couldn't wait to get the ball to the catcher. And I
The center fielder is on his horse.
And he threw it in the same spot, same speed.
There's a drive to deep right center.
And he's safe just ahead of the throw.
Guy screwed for his pitch and he hammered it. I mean, that's a great piece of hitting that led to that double.
Closest time I ever come to tipping my hat after playing for 22 years.
Stepping in 1 for 3, Johnny Davis.
Thought about tipping my cap. says, but I couldn't do it because, as he put it, I was done with that part of the act.
And the crowd simply will not stop applauding here at Fenway Park in
This
Boston.
guy loves to turn on balls in under his hands.
Hard for me to come out. I didn't go back out
with the 0-1 pitch.
But I had to go out.
David takes one high.
I get out there and threw out.
The pitcher and catcher had a strategy in mind. So far, the batters are taking these pitches.
Get an
Popped
ovation.
up.
I was standing at shortstop, so Ted was running from left field.
That'll
and
do
he
it for
got
the
across
inning.
Shortstop under the dugout.
With 1 inning left to
He
play,
said
the
to me,
White Sox lead by a single run. Here we go. This is what it's all about, big boy.
He got in the car, he drove underneath the grandstand, out through the center field fence, just so he could duck us. And this is the biggest story of the year, Ted's last game. It's a home run. How do you feel? What am I about? He's gone. He got even with us. That was his revenge.
Big news story of the past 7 days was not Mr. Khrushchev or the presidential campaign. It was the news out of Boston.
Just out of the fielder's
Ted Williams,
reach. Judging by the way he threw that ball, I guess he didn't have a good grip on it.
Boston Red Sox. It seems that at 42 he was too old. It does show that perhaps experience doesn't count.
Stepping in, Scott Posednik.
6 years after his retirement, in 1966, Williams was inducted into the Hall of Fame
That's a
in his
push
first
bunt.
year of eligibility.
Safe on the play.
That
was bang bang at first, and I think he just beat it.
And I know I didn't have 280 close friends among the
Up
riders.
next, Alex Zintron.
Now, I grew up in a household where my father
And he
shot
pushes
the
that bunt down the line.
And
They get the
you
force
see a
out at
Cadillac
third.
home, I
That's a
flipped to the
fielder's
baseball
choice.
thing. Here's Ted Williams.
When you lay down a sacrifice bunt, you are supposed to catch the ball with
I
the
used to
bat.
ask my
That's
dad,
exactly what he did there.
Ted Williams, who's this guy? And I know for a lot of people, that's where you got your first glimpse of Ted Williams. Who's this guy, you know, with the fishing hat on and the fishing pole in the Sears catalog?
Williams did not stay idle in
Stepping in,
retirement
2
for
for
long,
3, Luis
signing a
Castillo.
lucrative deal with Sears
Here's a
Roebuck
guy
and
you
Company
don't want on
that
base
turned the
because
kid
he
into
can
more
fly.
than a baseball great. He was now also America's master fisherman. It was a good fit. If the science of hitting forever appealed to Williams,
He tries
he
to
found
push
similar
bunt.
satisfaction
He
in
fouled
another
it off to the
exercise in
right.
precision: catching a fish.
Now, I don't think sacrifice bunts are this guy's specialty.
Being in a boat with him was, I think, an exercise
missed
in
inside.
discovery of Ted Williams.
Looked like the pitcher and catcher
Because
have a
his
strategy in mind.
frustrations
So
would
far, the
come
batters
out,
are taking
his
these
joy
pitches.
would come out, his happiness when he got the fish. Those times he could be
The count is even
the
at 2.
adorable
Sometimes you
and
try to make the
rambunctious,
hitter chase
and
your pitch.
sometimes
That's
very
exactly what you
critical
saw right
kid,
there.
more so than any other place. There's no inhibitions there.
3 and 2.
He's not having to prove himself to anybody. And I think that that's where the real personality came out.
He would stand
That's 3 strikeouts.
and you couldn't sit down and hit. You had to remain standing. I don't know what the reason for this was, but he remained standing.
Williams had fallen for Chicago socialite Lee
Hop
Howard
up.
at the end of his playing days and married her in 1961.
Second
But even in
baseman
love,
makes the catch.
Ed Williams could be as scornful and difficult as ever.
He would just go into
Going
these
into the bottom of the
tirades
ninth, the
and
score is 2-1.
swearing like a fire.
They're making a pitching change. They're calling for the closer.
Physical, except hitting things but never people. He would rip the telephone
Next at the plate,
out
Manny
of the wall,
Ramirez.
and then asked me to call the phone company to have the phone fixed. Well, I did this about 5 times.
No balls, 2
I
strikes.
felt like I was forever having to handle things.
Ground ball to the second baseman. Got him.
You were afraid to make a
Castillo
move,
made it
afraid
look
to
easy on that
second.
out at first, kind of.
And I just didn't look that way. I loved the man very much. But the life was for him and not for anybody else.
They're sending
The
up a
marriage lasted
right-handed
less
hitter
than
to face
5
the
years.
left-hander. Here's the new
It did that
designated
until
hitter,
walking down
Jason
the aisle,
Varitek.
Out of the zone, that's a ball.
The third Mrs. Ted Williams was Dolores Wedding, a Vogue model and actress. Soon came a son, John Henry, and 3 years later, a daughter,
Flubs the
Claudia.
catch.
But another chance at fatherhood didn't make Williams feeling easier to deal with as a husband. And this one battled back.
It was like two chemicals hitting each other in the chemistry lab. I mean, it either was an explosion or a wonderful creation.
But if you go 3 days, if you're lucky, that's it. The honeymoon's over, we have to treat it.
Jackson takes ball 1.
And then he acts like you're the boss, and you want it all over again. And then it's smooth rolling again, and whoop, then there you go again.
The pattern repeated for 6 years before ending in another divorce. Williams was done with marriage, but was able to find
pitcher and catcher have a strategy in mind. So far, the batters are taking these pitches.
And Louise Kaufman.
She had waited for him through 2 wives before they finally got together. With Louise, she could hold her ground.
Well, you talk about making a good pitch.
Did.
Right there, he was really backed up against the wall, and then he digs deep, makes great pitches, and gets the strike out.
A little fiery Scotchman. Terrific game.
But I think she also had another quality that was essential, and that is that she could overlook and overlook.
But that pitcher and catcher have a strategy in mind. So far, the batters are taking these
emotions. But you needed to be a duck and let that water roll off your back. And it took a while to learn that.
The ball
It's
game
tough
is over.
for a little kid to get yelled at, and then 5 minutes later, we get one
The
of these.
final score, the
meaning I want a
Chicago
kiss
White
from
Sox
you, and
2,
everything's fine.
Boston 1.
And John Henry and I, no doubt, were in that boat. We rode every storm with him.
I think he loved all his kids, but he didn't like to be accountable to anybody, and he very quickly, I think, got tired of any parental kind of role. And he liked to control his situation, and kids aren't part of a controlled situation.
Everything that he did was broken down to a science, right down to playing a game. There was a serious side to it that we all tried to figure out pretty quick. I mean, it was always a competition, which is great for little kids growing up because all we wanted to do was impress our dad.
And it may have been the most daunting task of all for the legend's only son.
I think Ted loved the idea of having a son more than having a son, in a way. And I think John Henry had a tough time growing up with this alternating no father figure, and then when he got a father figure, a ferocious father figure.
As family life grew more